Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. Special guest of honor on this occasion, His Excellency Dr. Inaugural, the Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State, here actually represented by the Honorable Commissioner for Health, Dr. Gaza Gumna, the chairman of this occasion, and Vice Chancellor,
the principal officers of the Federal University of Lafia, Your Excellency the Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State, ably represented, distinguished professors, deans, and directors, the family of the inaugural lecturer, our esteemed students, our distinguished guests, and our special inaugural lecturer. Today is your day. I greet you all and welcome you to Lafia Inaugural Lecture Series. It is popularly said that there is time for everything. A time to be born and a time to die. And in between this time, there are periods of creation, and there are circumstances in such creations and life. Today we are going to listen to one of our most distinguished professors of medicine in West Africa, a professor of microscopic anatomy. He is going to tell us issues that relate to between creation and dying. And in between them, we're going to listen to the structure, which is the anatomy of the human system, the function, which is the physiology of the human system, and the disease condition that surrounds the human anatomy. Please, I welcome you once more. Kindly listen to our most distinguished scholar who will tutor us on these dynamics. As you can see, there are practical instructional materials that will accompany this presentation. I invite you to our most distinguished professor, Professor Shugaba, Professor of Anatomy, Federal University of Lafia. Thank you so much.
Yeah. The rector Officer Shugaba Polytechnic, the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs, other principal officers of Federal University of Lafia, our royal fathers, and other royal fathers to be represented here, Provost, College of Postgraduate Studies of Federal University of Lafia, Provost, College of Medicine, Federal University of Lafia, deans and directors, members of the Senate of Federal University of Lafia, who are here represented, and those that are here. Other invited guests, the heads of security agencies here present, the inaugural lecturer of today, Professor Shugaba, his family members and associates. It will interest all of you to know that our inaugural lecturer of today is specially invited with a band, and this has never happened to any inaugural lecturer. And the reason is because he is working in Marketing in Lafia, and he's also, his name is Shugaba, and he is a 3-star general. So, we must especially at least welcome him to this. So it is with great pleasure that I welcome you all to Federal University of Lafia. I begin this address by expressing my sincere thanks to all of you for attending this inaugural lecture titled Between Creation and Dying of Structure, Functions, and Diseases. Your presence here today is an expression of great support to this university. Inaugural lecture serves as a platform for professors to share their experience or achievement in research, innovation, engagement, and teaching activities. Today, Professor Shugaba, Professor of Clinical and Microscopic Anatomy, is an outstanding scholar presenting the first inaugural lecture from the Department of Anatomy and the second in College of Medicine of this university. I therefore congratulate him, the Department of Anatomy and the College of Medicine on this achievement. This is an opportunity for Professor Shugaba to showcase his talent, knowledge, passion, intelligence, strength of personality, and conviction in a very special and valuable manner. Professor Shugaba is a very hard-working academic and has a driving spirit for excellence. I'm aware and indeed witness his excellent performance in his capacity as Director of Research and Creative Thoughts, and presently the Provost of College of Medicine and Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration of this university. Professor Shugaba is one of the finest researchers in recent times and a scholar of peoples. He loves his profession. He is a visionary person and a fantastic medical doctor who always demonstrates excellent practice in surgery. Part of our inaugural lecture policy is that the professor appointed or promoted by another university and who is currently serving as tenure staff in Federal University of Lafia may present his or her inaugural lecture in this university on condition that the Vice Chancellor of the awarding university will officially agree to this arrangement and will serve as the co-chairman or self-representative to the event. I thank the Vice Chancellor of the University of Jos, Professor Tanko Ishaya, for recognizing our policy. On behalf of the university management, I express our deep appreciation to the University Inaugural Lectures Committee, which are Professor Ode as the chairperson, for the progress we are making in our inaugural lecture series. Let me also thank Professor Shugaba's family for the support given to him during his academic journey and during the preparation for this inaugural lecture. I welcome you all and best regards. Thank you very much.
State, ably represented, Vice Chancellor of this fast-moving and growing university. I will beg that you allow me to lead on an already established protocol. But that cannot go without recognizing the presence of our fathers, the traditional rulers who are here, and also the distinguished academics that are here. I cannot also fail to recognize the presence of my own from the University of Jos. I will start by mentioning Professor Shugaba, someone that I've only lent him to you, and when the time comes, I will take him back. I will recognize Professor Victor Duga. I cited him, at least my lenses were able to catch him. And where is he? I recognize Professor Evelyn Alu is here with us. She forms part of the delegation from Jos. I also had seen Dr. Johanna Usman, who is also here. Not forgetting my friend, who is on a journey and will soon come back. I am standing on behalf of the Vice Chancellor of the University of Jos, Professor Tanko Ishaya, who is very, very busy and overwhelmed with functions that border on welfare of staff. He has made that a priority, and he does not relent on that, and he is doing it very ably, and he is doing it to the best of his ability. I think he deserves a round of applause. For me, as a person, Lafia is home. Home because I would have said that I have served this university as Vice Chancellor because Professor Muhammad Liman Sanusi, my classmate, has served this university as Vice Chancellor. And so Lafia is home for me. I do not intend to take much time to talk about Professor Shugaba, but I can summarily say that he left an indelible mark in the science of history. In Unijos, we cannot talk of the Department of Anatomy without mentioning Professor Andy Ishaq. As humble as he is, if you meet him in the street, you never can tell that he even completed primary 7. He's very humble, very simple, very approachable. He takes his duties very seriously. In fact, he does it as service to God, only for man to benefit. That is the person of God. And I am saying this so that if you have the calling to be in this noble profession of teaching, Professor Shugaba has set the pace. He is a trailblazer. You can copy from him. I'm happy he is here. And I think, if you want to take a research on that, I will give you a research topic. But I'm just thinking that the university, the Federal University of Lafia, is already on the highway to taking a pride of place in a committee of universities in Nigeria. And indeed, you have occupied a very recognizable place in the map of universities in the world. You have overtaken many universities, and presently you are on a rung, or very high rung of academic ladder. And I think it will not take long. The many universities in Nigeria will come to learn from the Federal University Lafia. My Vice Chancellor said that he would have been here himself. He would have wished to be here personally, if not for the attention that is needed on staff welfare. And lastly, let me say that I congratulate the Vice Chancellor, I congratulate the Federal University of Lafia, I congratulate the very good people of Nasarawa State. I believe that the speech, the lecture that Professor Shugaba is going to give will be stenciled permanently in our mental sheets of memory. For that, I plead with us to listen carefully and get the best that we can get. Many of us do not know anything about creation. We fear death. Professor Shugaba is going to tell us a lot about what transpires between creation and death. So that by the time we leave this place, I, for one, will not be afraid of death any longer. And I pray the same for you all. God bless you and remain blessed.
Thank you very much, sir. That was the address by the co-chairman of this occasion.
To the family of Alhaji Shugaba on the 21st of December 1959. He attended LGA Primary School, Nasarawa, and Jonama Primary School, Lafia. He proceeded to St. John Bosco Secondary School, Doma, for 2 days, then to Lafia Division Community Secondary School, Obi, for 2 weeks, all in the month of September 1972. And finally ended up in Government College, Kefi, in the same year to start his secondary education. Professor Shugaba obtained division distinction to become the second best student in both Kefi and the then Benue Plateau State. He proceeded to the School of Basic Study at Modubelo University, Zaria, where he did his IJB, and later studied medicine in Modubelo University, Zaria, and graduated with an MBBS degree in 1985. Thereafter, he did a diploma course in general computer application at the University of Jos, bagging a distinction. He went back to the great Modubelo University, Zaria, for his master's in human anatomy, where he worked extensively on the human vermiform appendix. He immediately commenced his PhD in the same Modubelo University, Zaria, doing research in reproductive histomorphology. On joining the academics after spending 15 years in the civil service in the medical field, he enrolled and did a postgraduate diploma in education to become a certified and registered professional teacher. Professor Shugaba joined the then Plateau State Civil Service in 1985 after obtaining the MBBS degree as a pre-registration house officer, and went to Kano for just 1 week to commence the mandatory NYSC, but was specially requested by the state to return to Plateau Hospital in the Department of Surgery, where he rose to PM2. He headed the Department of Surgery and then anesthesia and ICU. He also served as anatomy demonstrator in the Department of Human Anatomy before withdrawing his service for both private medical practice and academics.
just before the creation of Nasarawa State. In between, he was at the casualty of the university for emergency experience. He then joined the University of Jos in year 2000, where he rose through the ranks to become a professor. In the university, he has held these various positions of responsibility. Head Department of Anatomy, University of Jos, Department of Anatomy Examination Officer, University of Jos, Clinical Anatomy Demonstration Coordinator, University of Jos, Acting Dean on many occasions, Director of Research and Creative Thought, Federal University of Lafia, Provost College of Medicine, Federal University of Lafia, Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Federal University of Lafia, and has acted as Vice Chancellor in Federal University of Lafia before, between January 2024 and 1st to 7th of March 2024. Professor Shugaba has the following scholastic honors and awards to his name. Overall Best Student, Form 3, Government College, Kefi, 1976. Overall Best Geography Student, Government College, Kefi, 1976. Distinction in West African School Certificate Examination in 1978. Second Best West African Secondary Certificate Examination Candidate, Plateau State, 1978. Plateau State Government Undergraduate Scholarship, and many more. Professor Shugaba belongs to several professional associations, some of which include Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, Academic Staff Union of Nigerian University, our beloved ASU, Anatomic Society of Nigeria, Anatomic Society of Africa, Association of General and Private Medical Practitioners of Nigeria, Neuroscience Society of Nigeria, Society of Experimental and Clinical Anatomists of Nigeria, Bioanthropological Society of Nigeria, Nutritional Society of Nigeria. Professor Ali Ishaq Shugaba is a fellow of the Anatomic Society of Nigeria, Medicine Specialists of Nigeria, an association of general and private medical practitioners of Nigeria. He is a member, Society of Experimental and Clinical Anatomy, Association of Specialists, Medical and Dental Doctors in Academics, Anatomic Society of Nigeria, and so many more. Since then, his main occupation since joining academics his main preoccupation has been the training of medical and dental students, BSc Human Anatomy student, MSc Human Anatomy student, PhD Human Anatomy student, medical laboratory student, pharmacy student, nursing student, and junior academics and medical doctors. During this period, he has, from his research activity, published in local, national, and international peer-reviewed journals of good impact and strong visibility. He has published over 60 scholarly research papers and presented several papers and workshops, seminars, national and international conferences. His area of interest are in vivo study of the mode of branching of appendicular artery in the human being, the epidemiology of the premedial muscle, reproductive histomorphology, relationship between fetal weight and placental weight at the birth, genetical polymorphism of 3-sodium voltage and the association with painful diabetic neuropathy among Nigerians with diabetes mellitus, and so on and so forth. Professor Shugaba has participated in the NUC Accreditation and Resource Verification Visit and Medical and Dental Council as Accreditation and Resource Visit in the past 10 years, traveling the length and breadth of the country. He has also been involved in the assessment of lecturers across the Nigerian University to the professorial cadre, both associate and full professors in so many universities. Professor Shugaba has since 2010 been a visiting scholar to University of Abuja, Udu, Sokoto, Yusuf, Maitama, Sule University, Kano. He still finds and creates time for community service right from his secondary school days, apart from currently doing general medical and surgical practice. In Federal University of Lafia, he is chairman to over 14 standing committees and many more ad hoc committees, in addition to his duties as Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration. His skills include case reporting, measurements, surgery operation, studio evidence-based medicine, instrumentation, gross anatomy, human anatomy, medical education, osteology, skeletal biology, microscopic anatomy, tissue preservation, histological steering, medical illustration, and so many others. Professor Ali Shugaba, the Santali of Angwarere and Wakile Megane Lafia Emirate, is happily married to Associate Professor Mary Martin. Hajia Halima Yusman Abdullahi. Late Associate Professor Zuwera Hassan Gankwa and Malama Nawa Aliyu Tilde with children. My Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished guests, I present to you Professor Ali Ishaq Shugaba for the presentation of his award.
My children, Dr. Abdulwahid Ali Shugaba, are you around? Stand up and greet your elders. And Barrister Benita Ali Shugaba. Benita, are you around? The Deputy Vice Chancellors of Federal University are my sister and colleague, Professor Aluruchi Chukwu, who is DVC Administration, my younger brother, Professor Ismail Adakis, who is DVC Research and Partnership, who is absent. The Registrar of the University, Madam Nurudin Abdullahi, the Bossa, Dr. Wilson Anjola, the University Librarian, Professor Yoro, the Provost of Medicine and College of Postgraduate Students. Distinguished deans here I must mention the representative of my dean from University of Jos, Associate Professor Dr. Roslyn Tekla McNeil. She was my roommate when I was in Jos. I was just 1 year her senior, so we came through together before she went to South Africa and came back. My head of department from Jos, Dr. Mohamed Bello, are you around? Yes. Another younger sister of me who has dared everything to become Professor of Architecture, Professor Evelyn Ali. Heads of departments of Federal University Lafia, heads of administrative units, my esteemed colleagues in the College of Medicine, all security chiefs here, my royal fathers and mentors, most of them, I will say later. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen and women of the press, good afternoon. We are all here today by the grace of God. And whenever a woman is pregnant, we're wondering what is inside her. And when we see a sick person on the sick bed, we wonder what is going to happen to him. The ultimate of the sick person is death. The pregnant woman has, by the grace of God, if she survives her pregnancy and sees my brother and the Emir of Azara, she's delivered of what has been created in her. My granddaughter was so created. That sick person finally gave up the ghost So in between these two, there's a created granddaughter and an unfortunate sick person who finally died. Ladies and gentlemen, there are issues between creation and dying. We are wonderfully created, and we will also wonderfully die. But before I go forward, I must dedicate this day to certain persons and the Almighty God. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for wonderfully creating me in the human form. Because if you have created me a rat or a chicken that you just catch and cut, with wonderful structures and functions. To my father, late Alhaji Isiaka Shugaba, and my mother, Hajiya Umar. Who were the instruments of which God created me through them. To my daughter, despite her structure, she has grown to become a barrister. And my very supportive son, who is a robotic surgeon and a urologist. Unfortunately, he's not practicing here. He's practicing in the UK. But he has promised me that when the teaching hospital takes up the next 5 to 10 years if he's alive, he will join the teaching hospital of Federal University of Lafia. This day is also dedicated to the Vice Chancellor of this university, Professor Shehu Abdraman, because you will soon hear that I've become a convert. Not that I didn't have any religion. I had a religion, I have a religion, I will continue to have a religion. Who has painstakingly reminded me that I must give an inaugural lecture. The time I wanted to give an inaugural lecture in Zaria, in Jos, was a time when people were giving inaugural lectures based on, there's a particular cycle, Dr. Nestor knows that. So usually the school will be quiet. When it is the 5th year of that cycle, everybody wants to give an inaugural lecture. I wanted to give mine in 2015 or 2016. So when that thing was happening, and I had already told myself that since that is the situation, I don't want anybody to look at me as if I want to give an inaugural lecture because of that cycle. Professor Nestor knows that. So after then, I told myself I was not going to give an inaugural lecture. I had convinced myself, even though the moment I became a senior lecturer, after attending the lecture of Professor Gio Goranti of late memory, I had made the topic and wrote a 3-page inaugural lecture. But because of what was happening, I stepped down. The same way when I became an associate professor, I wrote another one. When I became a professor, I wrote another one. I kept on telling my VC, and each time he sees me, he said, when are you going to give an inaugural lecture? And one of these days was when he was together with the chairman of the inaugural lecture committee. I told him, I have my lectures. She said, go and bring them, we're going to print them. I said, no problem. So I decided to have a hybrid of this lecture. And finally, to University of Jos, for not only giving me appointment to rise and become a professor, but also for allowing me to come before my brothers and sisters and my wonderful Vice Chancellor to present this lecture in Lafia. Thank you so much. Because of that, I have earlier last year endured a prize for the best medical student in 100 level. But because of this dedication, from next year, when the present batch of medical students will be writing anatomy, I have dedicated a prize for the best student in anatomy in the second MD. And secondly, I had a colleague, I had a brother, I had a friend that we grew up together in University of Jos, late Professor M.B.T. Umar. I have this day decided that for the next convocation of University of Jos, I will give a prize for the best anatomy student in University of Jos. I am a convert, yes. It's true that it is the right and duty of every professor to give an inaugural lecture detailing how he started and reached this zenith rank, and a debt for him or her to pay the awarding university, in this case, University of Jos. Professor Chago, tell Professor Ishayalu, I have paid my debt today. And to Professor Shaw Abdurrahman, who insists that in their very first 3 years of becoming a professor, you must give an inaugural lecture. And to interest you here, I'm going to reach 3 years in this university by November, so I've also paid your debt. I had several topics to be the title of this inaugural lecture. One of them was From Microscope to the Bed, 2 journeys of the medical student and a doctor. Anatomy for the professions, and the professions for anatomy. What begets medicine? Between creation, structure, function, and disease. Jack of all trades, master of all professions. Between structures and functions. Between creation and dying. And then where there is no anatomy, what happens? Anatomy, doctor of doctors. But today, I've harmonized these 10 topics to come out with the topic of this inaugural lecture today. Between creation, which we cannot determine, and death, there are normal structures who function normally. And if they function normally, we don't become sick. If we don't become sick, we'll be free of diseases. Therefore, if that is that, why am I talking today? But before I go further, I need to make a declaration. Like the chairman of the inaugural lecture committee, represented by Professor Ozegia, he said between the time you are born and the time you are dead. James Audu, of blessed memory, in one of those his important programs in the NTA, used to say, to every man, there's a time to be born, and there's a time to die. And in between that, you live to the glory of your Lord and to the service of humanity. So I declare that I agree with him. Secondly, that we as anatomists, we are not cultists. That's why I've been able to bring this skull here without hiding it anywhere. I'll put it before all the security chiefs. They will not arrest me because I have the certificate to have this skull. So I'm not a cultist. We do our things openly. We also recognize creation by a supreme being. We believe and agree that there's a God. Even though today you talk of people saying tissue culture, organ transplant, organ culture, people having artificial uteruses and having babies, and when it is time, they now deliver them. But beyond that, there is a creator. Apart from that, we also believe that death is inevitable. And it's a fact that none of us will escape. So if you're not going to escape death, why worry about it? Just like the woman that is pregnant, she's going to deliver, but no doctor, including the gynecologist sitting here, spearheaded by the Emir Bazara, can tell you that this woman is going to deliver on 13th of November at 1 o'clock, at 5 minutes after 1 o'clock, at 10 seconds after 5 minutes. None of them can say that. I challenge them. So, you cannot determine creation, you cannot tell when you are going to die. It will come when it has to come. So don't worry yourself. Next one. You don't know when you are going to die. Further on, we do not have or know the final control of creation and death. Most of the religious people will say, be and let it be. Despite the fact that yes, you know, the two cells, one cell from the mother, one cell from the father, they come together, the fallopian tube of the uterus, and become the new baby, or the zygote as the case may be. And then further divisions of 2 cells to 4 cells to 8 cells to 16 cells to 32 cells to 164 cells, and so on and so on, until you now have a mass of cells. Then each of the cells will be signaled to form the various parts of the human being through almost 23 stages, especially in the first 8 weeks of life. Secondly, we are interested and we understand creation and death. And we're fully in the business of structures, of describing normal structures, when God has decreed. Whether the structure is normal, whether it's subnormal, whether it's hypernormal, whether it's abnormally abnormal, we study these structures. And finally, we agree that we have been created with normal structure, or any structure for that matter, and these structures are supposed to function for us, and we shall at the end of the day all die by the decree of the Almighty Allah. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, sir, Vice Chairman, how did I start to come to this level? As a child between the ages of 3 and 5 in Inaugural, when we used to have the usual tafsir, all I wanted to be was a commander, a cattle rider, or a farmer. Because the then man told us that the only way you can have salvation and go to heaven is you either be a farmer or a cattle rider. Unluckily enough, my father, who then was an adult education teacher, would not hear any of those things. So, he said, we must go to school. But unfortunately, again, he didn't allow my sisters to go to school, except one, Lafia. Why is Lafia Shugaba? Oh, she's not. She's the only one that later on, when we convinced him, he allowed her to go to school. She's now a meeting director of the Ministry of Education. All the rest, he refused to allow them to go to school, except read the mails. And he said, we must go and learn and understand English in order to write English, and also to read Ajami in Hausa. And I grudgingly allowed myself to be taken to Nasara Iran that early morning of 1967, when we were taken to the office of the headmaster, and we were 5 of them were brought. I remember Yahya Musa, and he's a retired ACG now. We were all told to touch our other ears. Unfortunately, even then, my name, they were calling me Novo at all, but I was short. My hand didn't reach. So I cried, but in the process, he insisted and said, that small boy from Lafia, what does he about it? Well, no, there's a counselor and there's another education, it's okay that will help you. So that was how the late Abdul Mayaki gave me admission to start Primary 1 in 1967. That's my primary school. The second one was Primary 1, then Primary 4, then Primary 6. After Primary 6, I had to leave for Dunama Primary School for another reason. It was in Primary 4 that something happened. The next slide. Can you put the sound, please? I was when the idea of becoming a medical doctor came to my mind. Which all must fast in order to rise to the top of the class. The female has his own. The female will remain with all the Thank you. The wars that kept us. So it's not only Imperial and University of London that are learning about integrity, loyalty, and so on. That was what KFI did to us. Unfortunately, I kept on wanting to become a doctor until when I reached Form 5. Between Form 4 and Form 5, 1977 and 1978, then some students, those days, students and teachers were coming from the universities to come and talk to you about professions. And then I remember they addressed us in the name from 543 about chemical engineering. I suddenly said I didn't want to become a doctor again. But on reaching Form 5, our class mistress, Mrs. Matukuti, who celebrated her 84 years last month, I was in touch with her. Unfortunately, she's in Australia. She cannot attend this meeting. She called me and said, Ali, you must go back to become a doctor. I didn't know what she saw in me. She decided, she insisted, so I now changed my mind back to medicine. And that is how the journey to medicine and to anatomy got concretized. So ladies and gentlemen, by the time I became a doctor in the June of 1985, that was the very important day. In those days, we finished our exams by 10 a.m. in the morning. By 12 noon, the results were released. By 4 o'clock, you were sworn in as a doctor, and by 6 p.m. of that day, you are employed to start working. That was exactly what happened. And that is why I call it the memorable, interesting, and nostalgic 24 hours of my life. Changed from student to a graduate, to being sworn as a doctor, and then I started working immediately. That is how I became a doctor and started working. And finally, I settled for anatomy. So, what is human anatomy? Human anatomy, as we know it today, is the scientific study of the structure and organizations of the human body. Human anatomy is therefore the scientific study of the structure and organization of the human body. It is a vast and intricate field that captivated scientists, philosophers, and artists for centuries. From the tiny cells that make up our tissues to the complex systems that govern our bodily functions, human anatomy is a fascinating and complete subject that continues to inspire and educate us. So who is an anatomist? The anatomist, therefore, is that person that studies, describes, and reports every aspect of creation and development. Not only that, he also studies the cells that determine the functions of the human body and the functions of the human body. And we do not stop at that, and that's why I have this score today. We go further to follow the dead body. What happens to him or her when he or her is dead? And that is why we have this. The anatomy does that, and if we do that, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to be a giant. I hope after today I will also be a giant, because there are these interesting giants that I have to stand on their shoulders to become what I become today, anatomy. This slide shows late Professor Bonny. The first part of the picture was what he was teaching us neuroanatomy in Anadolu University area. The last is the picture on the right hand side, with here, quite here, was him 2 years ago when he died. He first arose my interest in anatomy. Then the second one there is late Professor A.A. Trados, an Egyptian, who will stay in the front of the class and say, ask me anything about the human body. He says, how do you say? I know everything, I know everything. But despite that, he kept on saying he didn't create anybody. It's just the business of describing those structures with the eyes. Then the next set of people, we have led Professor S.P. Singh, and then Professor Sherif, who's also dead. He taught us histology. When he was teaching us histology, he said in the world there are only 2 authorities in histology, himself and the one big histology textbook called Lison and Lison. It was then, it was for him I developed the interest in microscopic anatomy. And then the only living one among them is Professor Sala. He's still alive. He wanted to be around today, but unfortunately, he's a retired professor of anatomy at University of Abuja. He also coordinates the College of Medicine in Abuja. He has gone to Africa to attend a meeting. That's why he's not around. And then on the other side is Professor Goranti, who employed me in the University of Jos when I told him that my interest is human anatomy. See, you don't want to make money. I said, why people like money? But I want, this has been my interest from the first day we are carried to the dissecting room. There was this practice in Zaria. The first day of this, they will carry you to the dissecting room and show you all sorts of human bodies mutilated to see whether you still want to continue to do the anatomy. So when I saw that, I wondered and admired the structures by the Almighty God. There are branches of anatomy. The former bread and butter anatomy was divided into three. Microscopic anatomy, the ones that you can see with your eyes. The microscopic anatomy, the ones that you can only use microscope to see. And then the developmental anatomy to follow what God has created, to see the developmental processes from the first day of fertilization up to the day the woman gives birth. But lately, we have also, because anatomy also talks about animals. So we're talking about comparative anatomy, the neuroanatomy, and then the emerging and most important field of clinical anatomy. It is on the basis of that these giants, because in those days, we didn't have people with BSc, MSc, or PhD anatomy. They were the ones that started anatomy in Nigeria. Together we led Professor Ike Grillo, and then there's Professor Elio Desano, who was 94 this year. He's still the head of anatomy at Babcock University. There are very few people. So he still teaches anatomy, even at 90 something. They were the ones that started the training of anatomists in Nigeria. And I hope I'll follow their footsteps. Therefore, some divisions of anatomy are purely arbitrary for convenience of instruction, only for no one of them is really understandable without the other. Gross anatomy, the one that you see with your eyes, or the clinical anatomy has gone beyond that. You need to go further to see the structures of human beings, because the emerging trend in medicine now is not just gross structures, as you will hear later. Then furthermore, clinical anatomy applies anatomical knowledge to medical practice, enabling healthcare professionals to diagnose, treat, and manage various medical conditions. It is essential for understanding the relationship between structures, identifying potential problem areas, and developing effective treatment plans. On the other hand, microscopic anatomy, also known as histology, examines the microscopic structure of tissues and cells. How do we study anatomy? Here, this is not picture. These are medical students at Bello University. They have cut upon the various parts of the human being, and they are in the dissecting room. And then, furthermore, they are all people looking at anatomy, and then how do you study? These ones also we call it cadavers. They are real, they are true. We cut dead human bodies to understand and study their structures. So that is how we study anatomy. Sometimes we can follow them by looking at the region. So okay, we look at the chest region, look at the abdominal region, we look at the nose has pain as a result of malaria. I should not give him the Panadol that I will give my son. I would be worried, because they don't have the same genetic distance. And so people now study now, and then medicines is becoming individualized. Dosages become individualized. All courtesy of studying the tinier structures of the human being. Then, if you see further that where then do we study anatomy? All of you only think that we study anatomy in the dissecting room. I'm right now studying anatomy, because the way I'm seeing you, I'm seeing the anatomy of sitting, anatomy of smiling, anatomy of frowning, anatomy of, and so on and so forth. So, as we're sitting here, we are studying anatomy. So we study anatomy in the dissecting room, in the schools like here, we are there now, in the graveyard. For your own information, we have graveyards. In any adjacent anatomy lab, adjacent if you have a lab, you call it a graveyard, where by the time we finish with a particular dead body, we'll go and bury it. After some time, we'll go and excavate the bones. This one is a direct human body, human part from the graveyard that we have. If you don't have a graveyard, we won't see this. If we don't have this one, we can't describe the structures of this, how your brain is sitting here, and the various part of it. So we study anatomy also in the graveyard. Inside this box is a complete skeleton of a human body that we buried. After he got rotten and everything, we got the bones, clean it up, and we give our medical students to study anatomy. We also study anatomy in the community, the marketplace, the stadia, the mosques, and churches. In fact, where I come in is study anatomy in the hospital side. That is where you apply your knowledge anatomy, what we call the clinical anatomy. We have studied, example, the breast in the classroom. We now go to where the clinic and the hospital, where we see the various diseases that affect the breast, so that those structures we have told him, we see how these structures are affected when you have a disease situation. That is our dissecting room. We have a dissecting room in Lafia. If you're interested in seeing real human body being cut, please come to College of Medicine. I will show you one. And this is, look at me there handling some human tissues, and then that's our anatomy lab, the Federal University of Lafia. So, and furthermore, we use microscope to study anatomy, and that is where the business is now. We do individualized study so that we can now have individualized medicine. Creation and dying. Why creation and dying? We all know that in the grand tapestry of life, creation and dying are two inseparable things that weave together to form the fabric of existence. Between these two extremes lies a complex web of structures, functions, and diseases that shape the human experience. This inaugural lecture explains the intricate relationship between creation, dying, and the biological process that govern our lives till death. So, creation is that spark that ignites life, bringing forth new structures and functions that enable growth, development, and evolution, from birth of a cell to the emergence of a complex organism that is made of systems, organs, and tissues. In medicine, you are told there is a cell. When these cells come together, they form tissues. These tissues form organs, and these organs form systems. As we are sitting now, each and every one of us is made of many systems. You have the system that takes care of your eating, of your digestion, of your passing urine, of your reproduction. But you never see, you say, okay, the structure that gives you strength, the skeleton like this one, is you cannot send it to one and perform one function, then one system is another function. They together work in unison. And that is what makes us that we work in unison in order to fulfill the function of our existence. Therefore, creation and dying. Dying is the inevitable counterpart to creation, marking the end of an organism's life. It is the culmination of a series of cellular, tissue, and organ failures that ultimately lead to the cessation of life. Yet, dying is not merely an end point, but also a transformative process that recycles energy, matter, and information, giving rise to new life forms, like the way we have this call now. And in the process of dying, these muscles go further to form manures and fertilizers for us that we use. On the other hand, clinical and microscopic anatomy are the two hallmarks of the branches of medicine, and they are the basis of all diseases because they explain and define whatever happens in any disease process. The future of medical and allied health sciences will therefore depend on microanatomy. Biomedical engineering can be driven by microanatomy. The interplay of clinical and microscopic anatomy can be used by artificial intelligence for the advancement of clinical practice or research. Because clinical anatomy applies anatomical knowledge to medical practice, enabling healthcare professionals to diagnose and do all the things, and including identifying potential problem areas, and then developing effective treatment that you undertake for a sick person. Clinical anatomy dimension is for the understanding of the body and its functions. Microscopic anatomy, which is known as histology, examines the microscopic structures of tissues and cells, and it reveals the intricate details of cellular components of the human being, so that you see changes as a person is growing, you see changes as functions are doing, you see changes as when a person dies. Those ones can be explained by clinical anatomy. Because of this, we have done several researches. Of all the researches we have done, these researches have been conducted on the importance of anatomy to clinical practice. And the knowledge of gross anatomy was considered fundamental to be very relevant to daily clinical activities such as symptoms evaluation and physical examination, imaging techniques, and interpretation of therapeutic techniques in the treatment of human beings. So I've just chosen a few of our works that we've done just to trace the fact that in anatomy, you do everything, and I call it anatomy for everything. If you go through the book, you see that I've chosen like around 12, 16 to show a good example of them. And of course, if you Google me in ResearchGate or so on, you'll see the complete works that I've done in human anatomy. And the first one, knowing the fact that we have a good relationship with animals, my very first paper in research work was to work on the sheep. Me and a group of others from the Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences, University of Jones, we looked at a particular product to test anti-snake venom. Because in doing that, because you are going to challenge one of the systems of human being, the so-called macrophage system or the immunity system, to see how it works. Dr. Faisal will tell us more about vaccination and the importance, or not the importance of vaccination. And it is the utilization of that macrophage system, or the system that gives us defense mechanism to treat with people that allows us to produce vaccine. We as anatomists were interested in that system. And because of that, my very first paper in anatomy was to work on sheep. And later on, like we said, when I was doing my first thesis project as an undergraduate was to look at the nutritional status of children under the age of 3. And then in the whole of Lafia, then the Booker City was like a town away, a village away from Lafia. There was only one nursery school, owned by one Madam Kate Iwe, where in 1984 I came and looked at various parameters, because we are what we eat, they determine our overall structures and functions, or the falling of being sick or not. And then we now worked on the vermiform appendix. Before we were told that the appendix, that you have appendicitis when you have stones. Actually, they are not stones. These are yes, we call them stones, but they are stones or feces. When your fecal matter becomes very hard, it becomes like a stone, and it obstructs the lumen of the appendix. But when we did this work, we looked at various aspects of the appendix and found out that it was an interplay of various things that allows you to have appendicitis. And we needed to do that structure so that we can guide surgeons, especially this thing that we do, what we call minimal access surgery, where people will make a small hole, go for it, and take it. And it was related to that we started studying the mode of branching of the appendicular artery. Because if you are going to move the appendix, you must close the blood vessel that gives you food. Because if you just remove it, you have successful surgery, you have a dead patient. So this study helped us to do that. And then during our PhD work, we looked at, because my late professor had worked on the fallopian tube and propounded that some of these cells in the tubes that the baby's fertilization takes place, they have some hormonal functions. So we now looked at the uterus, the ovaries, and the fallopian tube, because we want in future to advise people that are doing fertility studies, people that are doing IVF and so on and so forth. Not because we think they are creating those people. They don't have the power to create. We also came across an interesting case. When I was in my postgraduate anatomy, with my then wife, we had a hospital called Lafia Medical Center where we were applying this. Of course, we needed a lab. Just like the medical students and nursing students, they need a lab like the teaching hospital. So I had my hospital as my lab. As we were opening and seeing this, we saw various forms of abnormal and normal structures. And one of those structures we saw there was what we call a biconate uterus. The uterus that has an indentation. The emir of Azara knows what I'm saying, that it is a delight to see those kind of structures, but it's a nightmare to them. We meet on anatomist, it's a delight because it explains the developmental process of the uterus. And then when the woman came, we had actually seen that abnormal uterus. Yet, by the glory of God, she has been able to get pregnant and had children. We also we had an interesting case that had appendicitis. So we examined the patient. We thought the patient had something else. By the time we opened the person, luckily enough, when we were going to open the person, we didn't go directly to where we called for the appendix. We now went to the middle of the abdomen and opened. Instead of seeing the appendix, the usual place on the right side, the right lower side of our tummy, let's use that. We found it in the left side. On further evaluation after this patient got there, we realized that this was a human being created by God but had abnormalities. What we call status inversus. The structures on the right-hand side are on the left-hand side. They had supposed to be on the left-hand side, was on the right-hand side, and she had a great transformation of her disposition and position of her great vessels. She's still alive, 34 years old. So, you see, and that was a good case for us to show that these abnormal structures, abnormal development that has been described in the books, actually exists and existed in this case. We reported it, and the case was published. Other works we did was including using X-rays, ultrasound scan to look at the various structures of the human body, looking at the aging process of certain things, looking at the relationship with memory and the brain to see what happens between them. We also looked at the aging of the brain and what are the factors that are responsible for aging and how we can ameliorate those ones. We also did a lot of work to validate what some of these traditional people are saying. Agreed. Some of the things they are saying are active ingredients. But our problem with them is that there's no dosage, there's no studies, there's no scientific base, there are no evidences, as the lawyers will say, to back up this. So we looked at a lot of herbs, analyzed them, applied them to the human body, applied them to animals, especially we're using rat. So that we can extrapolate our findings to human findings. And then if our findings are good, we pretend them, and then of course, we take care of treatment of people. So, including many other things that if you have the pleasure of looking through the book, we've done several works on every part of the human body, including looking at anatomy and faith, anatomy and tradition, anatomy to your face, and how your face is looking alike, or how diseases can be described. Because if you don't study, example, I use these glasses because they are fitting into my nostrils. The measurements there are okay. So we need to study this one so that we can advise even the person that makes glasses. We can advise the optometrist. We can advise the pediatrician who will now see a child with abnormal behavior or abnormal positioning of the structures around the face. So that part is called anthropology. And of course, for anthropology, people also go to the graveyard to dig the graves and study them for evidences. Just like we do forensics also in anatomy, and then we'll have what we call the mathematical anatomy, where we take various measurements of various parts of the human being and try to look at them, and then we will use them to either identify the human being or to use them as evidences in the court. So you can see the contribution of anatomy to medicine and indeed living, which is foundational, structural, and functional. I can confidently say with anatomy, there is no failure of biological and medical sciences. Despite all these other works, I'm still not tired. I'm still doing some work. So, presently, as the orator said, I'm looking at the mode of branching of the appendicular artery. My son doesn't cut the way I cut. When he wants results, just by the click of a button, he has results. But we in Africa and Nigeria, if I want to remove the prostate now, I have to make a big incision. He will just go through the penis with and just crush them. Sometimes, of course, he uses robot under his guidance. Because of that, we do these studies, we help them do what they are doing now. We have also decided to look at the genetic of prostate. It's ongoing. We want to find our findings, we want to have the distribution and everything so that we can report well. We are presently, we won a TED Fund grant with my very good friend Dr. Hannah Osman, where we set up a laboratory in the University of Jos. We are studying ethnic variability in the feeling of pain. So that, like I said earlier, if Professor Chagon has abdominal pain, and Professor Abdurrahman has abdominal pain, or Professor Luruchi has abdominal pain, or my brother Gaza has abdominal pain, I will not give them the same amount of drug. The drugs that I will give them, even with the same drug, I will give them different doses according to their genetic makeup. And then presently, there's this acousmura that people take and they begin to behave like a desically. So we're also looking at the effect of that in the brain. We'll start doing that on the rats and so on. So, ladies and gentlemen, between creation and dying, there are structures and functions. They can be normal, abnormal, or be congenital. All these works have shown us the rules of normal structure, normal function that lead to healthy life. It's based on that I said, I told the Society for Public Health to make a small pamphlet and give people around so that you need to live healthy. They will give you some of these pamphlets, members of my Senate and so on, and had a lecture on this to give them, because you need to maintain healthy life. The interplay between creation, dying, structures, functions, and disease is a testament to the awe-inspiring complexity of life. Anatomy remains the bedrock of medicine. Mr. Chairman and Co-Chairman, I will just say this. Between creation and dying, there are structures and functions. And the absence of these normal structures or functions will lead to disease states. The severity of diseases will therefore depend on the state or states of the human structure and function. As we navigate the journey between birth and death, we are reminded that every moment is precious, every breath a gift, and every life a unique creation worthy of wonder and respect. So maintain normal structure, freely given to us by God, in order to function well without diseases. Therefore, a firm understanding of anatomy ensures a safe life and rationale for medical practice, and therefore remains the bedrock of medicine. I would therefore recommend this, that the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, in collaboration with other Nigerian University Commission, should make a basic degree in anatomy or physiology a qualification to read medicine. Anatomy education in future should be double in the classroom and in the hospital, so that we start teaching anatomy from 100 level up to 500 or 600 level. And then also, we must provide a standard workable framework for the betterness of our health. Then of course, translational anatomy, or both the structures and non-structures, must be followed in order for us to do things rightly. And then of course, artificial intelligence, Associate Professor Dr. Mary, Haji Halima Abdullahi, late Associate Professor Zuera Hassan, and the baby of the house, Nawar Aliyu, have said on behalf of them and my mother, I should thank all of you that have come today. And also, to say that we should mention my father for taking care of me and bringing me to this situation. Because if you go through the book, you see a lot of things. My children, Dr. Buwarit and Barrister Benita, and Umbi, Engineer Faiz, Abdul Samad, Ahmad, Khalil, Khadija Abdul Warid, Vinita Abdul Warid, that little granddaughter that was treated wonderfully for me to study her development. And to my wife's fantastic and divinely supporting source, Associate Professor Dr. Mary Matthew, my love and headmaster of the house, Haji Halima Abdullahi Usman, my princess, late Associate Professor Dr. Zuera Adom, and the baby of the house, Nawazali Uchile. May the Almighty Allah continue to bless, protect, and guide you. I'm also looking forward to the days of your inaugural lecture. My siblings, all of you, my siblings, can you stand up and say, my siblings, Abdullahi Shugaba, Dr. Mane Shugaba, Hafsa Shugaba, and the rest of you, please greet the people on behalf. And then, especially, the Vice Chancellor of this university, Vice Chancellor of Federal University of Lafia, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Jos, the immediate Vice Chancellor of Lafia, Professor Sanusi Liman. He started this journey, my journey of Professor Jacob. He started the journey of becoming here. He once followed us to Jos and gathered me, led Professor Omar, Dr. Bako, Dr. Ahmad, Dr. Liman, Dr. Ashuku, Professor Ashuku. We sat in the office of the academic director of academic planning. He said he wanted to set up a medical school. So me and Omar said we will not come. We have finished business in Jos. But we will get him 2 or 3 other people to come. Bako we told him to come, Dr. Amin Rabiu, and then Dr. Lawal from Zaria. Okay. So he then appointed us as consultants. We are coming, we are paying us monthly. And then along the line, he played one fast one on me. Then he now he convinced my senior wife to leave NGO and come and become a teacher. I said, you come and join teaching, well, there's no big money there, she just wanted to come. So one day he was making fun of my vice chancellor that the Gaza has pulled the cow. I said, no, but I gave her the permission. So, and this special thanks to this wonderful vice chancellor. Yes, I met very wonderful people in Jos. I've met another very wonderful human being here. He has been wonderful. He has given me opportunities to do what I'm doing now. Challenging, tiring, but mentoring. Thank you, Professor Shugaba. And to my special students, wonderful colleagues, without you I wouldn't have been this. And then to my students, to my colleagues, there are people that were my students, and some of my colleagues that I mentored them, some of them are professors now, are consultants in various fields.
Faculty of Basic Sciences, Certificate of Merit, awarded to Professor Shugaba, Professor of Clinical and Microscopic Anatomy, Department of Human Anatomy, on your inaugural lecture presentation titled Between Creation and Dying of Structure, Functions and Diseases. Today, 13th November 2024. Congratulations. You know, when you have 3-star burial, you have to take time. This is a symbol we usually give to our inaugural lecturer, and this is to show that today Professor Shugaba has been inaugurated as professor, and I've been saying it that in this university, if you go to any office and you see by the door the name of the professor, once you enter and you did not see this one, that professor has not been inaugurated. So today, Professor Shugaba has been inaugurated, and anytime you go to his office, you see this. Even I myself, last week, I was giving my own. Because whenever I mention it, people say, this man that is talking that you have never seen his own in his office, but my own is also in the office now. Thank you. This one is a gift from a committee. I don't know what is inside, but thank God you have 3 wives. You will be able to help me open it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice. May I invite Dr. Ahmed Rabiu for both of us announcements.
The chairman of this occasion, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Jos, Vice Chancellor of Federal University of Lafia, Royal Highnesses, and the inaugural lecturer. The inaugural lecturer said something. He said, if you are not going to escape death of the University of Jos and everyone that is here, the last thing that he mentioned, if you give me a listening ear, he said that we are looking for people that will donate when after they die for the study of anatomy. We wish you safe drive back home, but before then, I've been asked to announce that the reception is going to hold at the Botanical Garden here at the university. And thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Please, our security officers and protocol officers should ensure easy access and passage for Senate members and the royal fathers and other dignitaries who have come to part of this. Please help us clear the exit door so that we can. principal officers, members of the Federal University of Lafia Botanical Garden. Inaugural lecture presentation by Professor Ali Ishaq Shugaba. This event is going to be very brief. And to start, we would like to request that we use a few seconds and pray for the success of this event. Jama'a Allah duk inda kuke zama ko tsayewa, Allah mu dauki dan lokaci kaɗan mu yi
Directors Committee of the University, all our invited guests, I recognize all of us and I welcome all of us to this very important event in which we are celebrating one of our own, Professor Ali Ishaq Shugaba, who has just delivered his inaugural lecture as a professor promoted in University of Jos and now with Federal University of Lafia on tenure appointment. We want to appreciate all of you that we are there to witness the lecture and to congratulate the inaugural lecturer and his family and his associates for this achievement in his life, and to use this opportunity to also advise him that a lot of younger ones are looking up to him, and one of the functions of a professor is to mentor. So the younger ones that are coming up under his discipline, that is anatomy, human anatomy, he should try as much as possible to see that he mentor them, at least so that in the near future we should have more of the professor in that discipline. And also there are younger ones in other health sciences that are also looking up to him, because when we talk of medical education, it is not only anatomy alone, we have other disciplines, and we want to have a lot of them in place, at least to continuously improve on the health of the populace. So we should be available for mentorship of all these younger ones. And for the younger academic in the university, we have seen what happened today, and it is the ambitions of all of us that are in academic to become a professor one day. And we should know that the moment you are promoted to professor, what makes you a professor is your inaugural lecture. If you deliver your inaugural lecture, that means you are being inaugurated, and everybody will know that you are a professor. Because today, not all the people in the public know that Professor Shugaba is a professor. It is within the university here and University of Jos that he can claim that. But today, it is to the entire public that we know him as professor, because he has used this opportunity to tell us how he made his journey right from the beginning of his career up to the level of professorship. And I want to wish him well with this status of professorship. May Almighty Allah make this status add a lot of benefit to his family and to those that are his associates. And well, this is not avenue for too much speech, because I can see they are keeping my own food here before it gets cold. Let me start what people have already started. Thank you. You are all welcome.
taking his downstairs.
Rise to the top of the class, as so far as we have. If we remain, we always are ready for we study and strive for Nigeria. Thank you very much and God bless you.
So many kinds of citizens and indigents. One of the Lafia sons in the Federal University of Lafia is the Vice Chancellor himself. For those of you who do not know, we have adopted the Vice Chancellor as a member of the Lafia Staff Forum of the Federal University of Lafia. What remains is to do the zane for him.
He presents this to you on behalf of the Lafia Staff Unity Forum, which you are also a member, even though there are many that are not having that Lafia mark. But maybe today will be the day we will take you to the palace and do that mark. So, when they will do that mark for you, I want to see any of your wife there. So when you go home, they will now look for hot water. So, congratulations. This is on behalf of your Unity Forum. We wish you more success in life. Thank you.
For the love of this institution has drawn me closer to every activity here, which they always invite me, and that's why I'm here. I must say that this university is an aspiring institution. I have done an investigation at this university to do comparative analysis of development and in terms of academic content.
All the staff of the College of Medicine have invited me to present a gift to our dear provost and the inaugural lecturer of the day. You know, a token of gifts as contributed by all the staff of the College of Medicine. Sir, on behalf of the staff of the College of Medicine, I have the singular honor and privilege to present this beautifully wrapped gift. And I'm sure once you see the contents, this will signify the heart and the love all the staff of the College of Medicine have for you. I'm sure by the time you open this, you will understand what I'm talking about. So once again, on behalf of all of us, we present this to you. Secondly, that is not all, sir. Aside from the gifts, I'm also asked to also give this token of cash. I'm sure nobody has we want to do what others have not done. So we also have a cash contribution, you know, from the college as well. So again, on behalf of all the staff of College of Medicine, I again have the honor and privilege to also present to you this balanced token of gift of cash now to you, sir. So this will now be in kind and cash.
For your support, encouragement, and your guidance.
Thank you.
The one that just gave a professorial inaugural meeting, lectures. This is by no means a small achievement. I want to identify with you at this moment of your achievement and to pray for accomplishment of life. We know you continue to do those good things. The people that have seen gathered is not just people from the academic communities. It's because of you have been a very good person, and you've been serving your community very well. We wish you the best, and thank you very much.
Why we decided to do that particular study was as a structural specialist, we had wanted to know what actually happens to an aged person. Because as you all know, during aging, the old people manifest a lot of symptoms like Parkinsonism, etc., etc. Because we wanted to actually know exactly what is happening in the brain, especially to the cells and the neurons that are responsible for this behavior our old people do. Microanatomy and death in the sense that usually before somebody dies, or if somebody dies in the hospital, the doctor is called to satisfy whether the person is dead. Then there are many definitions of death, but holistically what is supposed to happen is that when somebody is said to be dead, all other things must have stopped. You should stop breathing, you should stop eating, you should stop, the heart should stop beating, and then the smallest of all the cells in his body should actually stop to function. Because every cell in the body is representative of the whole human being. So with microanatomy study, you'll be able to say for sure, even at the cellular level, there is no activity of life.
Can you briefly tell us the stages, the developing stages?
You know, essentially, like I had earlier said in my lecture, that in the traditional anatomy, we say anatomy is divided into microscopic anatomy, those structures that you can see with the eyes, and those structures that you cannot see with the eyes, you say microscopic anatomy. But again, there's this branch of anatomy that is not like the way you come and see it. This branch of anatomy is called embryology or developmental anatomy. And in developmental anatomy, we all know that for pregnancy to ensure, a man and a woman must come together, and the woman produces what we call an ovum, which is her own egg, and the man produces millions of spermatozoa, but only one called a spermatozoa will come together and meet in the reproductive aspect of the human or of the female. Once they meet, that is the beginning of life.
one cell from the woman, one cell from the man. When they meet, they form what we call the zygote. And from then, there's continuous cell division. In the 2, it becomes 4, 4 comes to 8, 8 comes to 16, 16 to 32, and 160. But then, at the end of the day, there will be what we call a mass of cells, just cells together. If it's a single pregnancy, but if it is a twin pregnancy, they will be divided into 2 equal parts. It's these cells that are same together. Each of these cells will have what we call now signal potential. And this signal potential will say, okay, this cell are going to become the heart, this one will become the legs, this one will become the brain, this will become the digestive system, and every other system of the human body. By the time they get these signals, every cell now begins to grow. So then we will now begin to have what we call the 3 primitive germ layers: the ectoderm, the mesoderm, and the endoderm. And each of them will, as the development continues, they form the various parts of the human being. It is this process of development that you find many stages, up to 23 stages. And this happens from day 01 to the 8th week. That's when all the essential parts of a human being will have been formed at the end of the 8 weeks. At that end of the 8 weeks, at the stage almost 23, it means then that's around 8 months, the first 8 weeks. Every part of the human body will have been formed. Small brain, small heart, small intestine, small liver, small legs, small hands. And then thereafter, other factors that are responsible for the growth of the human being will continue until when the woman reaches 9 months, as the case may be, before delivery. Those are the stages of development. But if this is just a summary of all the stages, but minute, stage by stage, for every day and every week, especially in the first 8 weeks, a lot of things happen that will further determine and define the future child or children that will be given birth to.
Good to know, sir.
Thank you, you're welcome.
So what is the basic relationship between microanatomy and diseases?
Yes, the relationship is very good. The basic relationship between microanatomy and disease, because it is what happens at the minutest level, which is the microanatomy. But just like I was saying during the lecture, that the microanatomy holds the future of medicine. Why? Because that is when you look at the things that are happening at the smallest level, which even the ordinary microscope cannot see, unless you use other machines like the PCR machine. Those are the things that will be explaining. If you have cancer, they'll define why cancer cells are behaving like this. Or if you say somebody is getting old, these are the cells that are doing. Or if you say you want to give somebody, say, Panadol now, what happens in the cellular level that will allow the Panadol to work? So microanatomy gives answer to all these things: the disease process, the symptoms, and of course the signs. The symptoms are the complaint the patient gives, and the signs are the things that the physician or the doctor will assist. And all these ones at the very beginning are determined by what happens at the macroanatomic level. And that's why I said, going forward, macroanatomy holds the future for anything medicine, including treatment and so on and so forth.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So having reached this great peak of your career, what advice do you have for your mentees?
For my mentees, I say they are welcome. Like I said during the lecture, I had to stand on shoulders of some great men to become what I am. I'm not saying I've finally become a very great man. I want them also to come and join me to also climb my shoulder and become what I am now and what I'll become in future. So my words to my mentees is that you are welcome. My hands, my brain, my heart, my resources are open, and you are welcome to join me.
Thank you very much. Congratulations once again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Off record, sir, I was one.